As we head towards 2024, the question's asked, where is your average Democrat currently at in terms of political ideology? Plus, how can the right stand against arguments from the left? We're going to discuss that all and more on today's episode. So with that being said, on to the show. Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on the Brian Nichols Show. Thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you live from our BNC studios here in lovely Eastern Indiana. Joining me once again, the one, the only, Clay Clark. Welcome back to the Brian Nichols Show.
Hey, I really do appreciate you carving out time for me to be here with you, and hopefully we can drop some knowledge bombs on your listeners that they did not previously know.
Fantastic, Clay. Looking forward to digging into all exciting things today in the world of politics. Now, last time you were on the show, back I think it was a month or so ago, you and Aaron were on the program, and we discussed the movements, right? The movements of the conservatives. But today I want to focus predominantly on the left. Where is the average leftist? Where is the average Democrat today? And frankly, let's talk about this from a conservative, libertarian, big L libertarian, small L libertarian, whatever it may be, approach to dealing with some of the claims, the arguments, and the approaches, frankly, that we see being brought to us by our friends there on the left. So, Clay, where do you want to start?
Well, on the left, back to that idea, I've got a little clip I want to play for you here. You know, when you talk about left, you talk about liberal, you talk about secular humanists, you talk about, that's kind of the world. You talk about academia, you talk about the word progressive. These are the words you use. Well, the world's leading best-selling author for progressive, the most consumed author, the most read author of the progressives, of the liberals, of the academia. That would be Yuval Noah Harari, who is praised by Obama, Zuckerberg, and Gates. So let's just hear what he has to say, because he's the top-selling author right now for the left.
Humans are now hackable animals. The whole idea that humans have, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will. That's over. Free will, that's over.
That's over.
Over. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Everything is being digitalized. Everything is being monitored. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste, because a crisis is an opportunity to also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to. But in a crisis, you see, we have no chance. So let's do it.
Holy crap!
I think maybe in a couple of decades, when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian machines, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin.
Holy crap!
This perhaps is going to be the biggest question in 21st century economics and politics. What to do with billions of useless humans? Thank you.
Holy crap!
That's where they're at. This is the mindset of the left. This is what they're actually saying. I'm not saying this. This is what they're saying.
Get a better James Bond villain, right? My God, this guy, I don't know. I don't want to come across as saying that this is indicative of everybody left of center, but this is what's being discussed by, dare I say, establishment figures in these respective movements. So, what's the discrepancy? Why is the average Democratic voter allowing this to be where their leadership actually is at?
Well, I'll just tell you my life here. So let's look at the Bible. It says here, it says for the fear of the Lord, for the fear of the Lord. I'm gonna pull this up here because I don't want to misquote the Bible. Proverbs 9:10. Proverbs 9:10 reads, "For the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding." So that's Proverbs 9:10, and I just don't know that you, I, we, us. I don't know that we truly have a healthy fear of the Lord to the extent that we should. I mean, Proverbs 9:10 again, it says here, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding." So I just think that a lot of times what happens is you have people that don't fear God, right? And they have no moral boundaries. And therefore, they don't have any moral boundaries. And so they begin to do weird stuff. So as an example, Elon Musk, as an example, he keeps being asked right now, what is the vision of Neuralink? What is the vision? Now, Elon Musk is a unique cat because he's in favor of free speech. And he says there's two genders. So people on the right like him. People on the left like him. Now, the only people that are bothered by these statements he makes are people that fear God. So listen to what he just said.
Firstly, can you explain what Neuralink is and what the goal of it is?
We put a chip in your brain to control your mind. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Concerns not alleviated.
Yeah, there you go. Jump right in. Step right up. Who wants one? The second application would be restoration of eyesight. So if somebody's gone completely blind, maybe even has lost the optic nerve, you can actually still.
So, he's talking about putting a chip in your head. And people are going, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because Elon Musk is in favor of two genders. He clearly doesn't fear God, but you know what? This guy, he's in favor of free speech. So let's put a chip in our head. And now you start to see, Brian, you see academia and the left, this would be like organizations like the FDA. The FDA is now saying, hey, Elon Musk, here's the deal. Elon, we want you to know this. It's not safe for the average doctor, local doctor, to put, hydroxychloroquine in a patient to save their life. But it is okay for you to put a chip in their head. Listen to this.
Elon Musk's brain implant company Neuralink said on Thursday it had been given a green light from the US FDA to kickstart its first-in-human clinical study. It's a critical milestone for Neuralink after earlier struggles to gain approval.
We're confident that it is possible to restore full body functionality.
Musk believes brain implants could cure a range of conditions, including obesity, autism, depression, and schizophrenia.
Now, schizophrenia is also known as a mental disorder where you have a detachment from reality. So you understand that people that have a detachment from reality, as defined by progressives, are now having justification to put an FDA-approved chip in your head. This is where they want to go.
I just you couldn't write better science fiction, right? Like if you were trying to sit down with someone and map out a science fiction story, this sounds way more like out there than what you could possibly sit down and write in a script. And yet it's happening in real life. So I guess the good question for us is, what can we do in trying to fight back, right? If the folks who look at this and they say, no, this isn't the best way for us to move forward, what should they be doing? What should they be looking to do, whether it's policy, whether it's socially, culturally, or something in between?
Well, I think a couple things, and I'll just kind of start in the home. A lot of times in the Bible, it tells us, what to do. And then I don't know that we sometimes follow what the Bible says to do. So, it's James 4:17 says, therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. So we as Christians or believers or people that want to save this republic, I think we need to read the Bible more and practice what it says more. I think that's where we need to start. We need to be the light in the darkness, if that makes any sense. We need to be a positive example of what healthy marriages look like, of what it looks like to honor your business dealings, what it's like to do what you say you're going to do, what it's like to honor your father and mother, what it's like to, we need to actually follow God's principles so that we can be a clear contrast to the godless values that the world throws at us. Okay, so that'd be one. Second is I think we need to know what the Word of God says, because you're going to start to see now this pushing that there's going to be an agenda. You're going to start to see this agenda being pushed that we shouldn't eat meat, that we really should abstain from eating meat. You're going to start to see this. We should abstain from eating meat. You're going to see this idea that the marriage, as defined by between a man and a woman, that somehow is wrong. You're going to start to see these sort of things being pushed. And I think if you don't know the Word of God, you don't see how these things relate to what's going on. So this is Yuval Noah Harari, again, encouraging people not to eat meat.
I refrain from eating meat, not because I think it will prolong my life, but because it prolongs the life of the chickens and the cows, whatever. My job as a public intellectual is not just to speak up, it's also to be heard. And to be heard, you need...
Okay, so if you know the Bible, 1 Timothy chapter 4, you would know the following to be true. But if you don't know the Bible, it'd be hard to know these things. Here we go.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. For every creature of God is good, and nothing to be refused, if it be received with thanksgiving.
So, if you read the Bible and you know 1 Timothy chapter 4, you would say, oh, well, okay, this guy doesn't want us to get married. Yuval Noah Harari. This guy wants us to abstain from eating meat. Okay, this guy rejects the God of his fathers. Okay, that's like the Antichrist spirit. But if you don't know the gospel, you go, I don't really know if this is right or wrong. There's confusion. And so I think we need to read the gospel and really know what it says. That would be like my first call to action. Second call to action is, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they are in the process of introducing a new gold-backed programmable central bank digital currency. This technology, this currency that's being created is designed to end economic freedom. And so I don't know that most of your listeners know this. Maybe your listeners do. Maybe your listeners are the most wide awake people on the planet, and maybe other people are not aware of this. But what's happening is they're talking about introducing a new form of currency, which would basically make it impossible to speak out against the corruption. Where you couldn't speak out because your money could be turned off, or it's called a Chinese social credit score. So this is Rick Rule, a top financial expert who appeared on the show, the Stansberry Research Show, on July 19th, 2023, and was asked a question on this. It's not a political show. She says to him, what will happen, if we allow central bank digital currencies to be introduced? And this is what he said out loud, folks.
Obviously, if you contract cancer, that is of more concern to you than central bank digital currencies. But I actually do believe that the potential impact on humankind from a central bank digital currency could and would be worse than the cumulative impact of cancer on humankind. The idea that governments, which from my point of view are too powerful and too inclined to war and too inclined to abuse today, would have a tool that would allow them to eliminate people's savings, people's medium of exchange, people's wealth, if those people didn't behave in the way that the big thinkers wanted, is terrifying. The combination of the fairly well-documented social scoring being undertaken now in the People's Republic of China, with the ability of central bank digital currencies with built-in features that make them cancelable, is absolutely scary. Remember, not too long ago, Daniela, Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada decided that people who had made contributions to a group that was opposed to him politically, the truckers of Canada, should have their bank accounts, their brokerage accounts, and some of their insurance products seized.
So you get the idea. I mean, if that actually goes into effect, Brian, then all of a sudden you can't talk back. You can't argue.
Right.
You can't negotiate. You can't do a podcast to share the truth. You can't call a friend and tell them, hey, this is what's going on. You can't have a private conversation because that's called the social credit score. That's the Chinese-style social credit score system. And that's already existing in China right now. And Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they are preparing to introduce a new gold-backed central bank digital currency to remove the U.S. dollar from having any value at all whatsoever. That's 41% of the Earth's population now being joined by Iran, Venezuela, Turkey. These countries have been hoarding the Earth's gold in preparation to introduce a central bank digital currency. And if all the countries that have announced that they want to be a part of BRICS join BRICS, that would be over 80% of the Earth's population that no longer needs to use the U.S. dollar in any way, shape, or form. And they can now trade with each other without needing to even work with the United States, because the U.S., we export virtually nothing except for the dollar, and we import almost everything. So we would be a country that imports virtually everything, that doesn't make anything, that would be having currency that we use that no one wants. I mean, that's where this is taking us right now. So we really need to wake up our family and friends to what's going on for the central bank digital currencies. And if you want to learn more about it, you just go to time2freeamerica.com. I have a button I made there called CBDC. And if you go there, you can learn more about it. And if you go to the Reawaken America Tour, which is August 25th and 26th, coming up here, August 25th and 26th in Las Vegas, Nevada, you'll see there at that particular event a lot of the speakers who are speaking at the Reawaken America Tour: Simone Gold, Eric Trump, Don Jr., General Flynn, Cash Patel. You're going to notice a lot of these names are very familiar names. You're going to notice that a lot of these familiar names are starting to talk more often about central bank digital currencies as being the biggest ender of freedom possible. I mean, this is dystopian 1984 kind of stuff here. So I would encourage people, go to time2freeamerica.com. Come join us in Las Vegas, Nevada on August 24th and 25th. I really do believe it'll be an eye-opening event for you.
Two things as we go towards our final thoughts here, Clay. Number one, so we just had Adam O'Brien on the show from bitcoinwhale.com. He's from Canada, and he actually had this happen to him where the Trudeau government basically froze his entire bank account, right? And he had to spend a lot of time trying to get it recovered. He ended up having success there. But, I mean, we just had him on the show to tell his story. And it's horrifying to hear how you could literally have everything just turned off instantaneously like that, right? So that's my number one for my final thought. Number two, and it goes into maybe prompting your final thought with a little bit of a question, and that is trying to get people awake, trying to get the normies to pay attention, right? We in our movement, we talk about this stuff all the time. And we love talking about it because not only do we see the value in what we're trying to talk about and getting people awake, but when people do become awake and they start to get it as well, you kind of get that itch, right? But there's so many people out there who they just don't pay attention. So I guess, with that being said, as I wrap my final thought up, Clay, what would you say are some of the best ways we can wake up some of those folks?
If it were me personally, and I was trying to wake up somebody, which, by the way, I do all day, every day. That's pretty much all I do. That's why it's called the Reawaken America Tour. I just share with people facts. I don't do emotional arguments. I don't do that. But, and again, it's just facts. I mean, I don't really do feelings very well, but I do facts. So I would just say, if you go to time2freeamerica.com and you click on the central bank digital currency button, the CBDC button, you can see right there on that page, I put all the video clips pertaining to the central bank digital currencies. They're right there for you. You can easily share those. Or if you go to rumble.com today and you do a search on rumble.com for central bank digital currencies, central bank digital currencies, you can look right there. And I've got many, many small format, 2-minute clips that I've recorded that you can look at right there that will tell you everything you need to know about the central bank digital currencies in their own words, by the way. It's Yuval Noah Harari, Klaus Schwab, these individuals explaining how this technology works. It's not me. I would just encourage you to share clips of these nefarious people in their own words explaining the plan. I mean, Bill Gates says out loud his plans. Yuval Noah Harari says out loud his plans. Klaus Schwab says out loud his plans. I think we should share those plans with the people that we're trying to wake up.
Share those plans. Share this shirt. Go ahead, get your, now that's what I call tyranny shirt over at our shop and at briannicholsshow.com /shop with Klaus Schwab, of course, on it for our audio listener. Use code TBNS at checkout for 15% off your order. And yes, of course, support independent businesses as well. And yes, folks, with that being said, we are unfortunately going to have to say goodbye for today's episode. So with that being said, folks, if you enjoyed the episode, please go ahead, give it a share when you do. Tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. Twitter, x.com, Facebook is where you can find me. Clay, where can folks go ahead and follow you if they want to continue the conversation?
Yeah, you just go to timetofreeamerica.com, timetofreeamerica.com, or go to rumble.com and search for the Thrive Time Show on rumble.com. That's Thrive Time Show. Appreciate your time, Brian.
Clay Clark, thanks for joining us. And folks, if you enjoyed the show, please go ahead, give it a share. And also go ahead, find us on YouTube, Rumble, and Ben Swann's Sovereign, SOVREN. Whenever you're there, do us a favor, just hit that subscribe button and little notification bell so you don't miss a single time we go live. Also, we are a podcast, YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is you get your podcasts. Just do yourself a favor, hit download all unplayed episodes of The Brian Nichols Show once you hit that subscribe button, and start from episode 1 all the way to over 750 other episodes here of the program that will leave you educated, enlightened, and informed. That being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show for Clay Clark. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.